cult movie classics. They show what dedicated actors and actresses add to the entertainment industry, culture, and ourselves. So let's begin. And I'll start by giving some Wikipedia background information. A cult film or cult movie, also commonly referred to as a cult classic, is a film that acquired a cult following. Cult films are known for a fan base which forms an elaborate subculture that engages in repeated viewings and audience participation. The difficulty in defining the term comes from the subjectivity of judging what qualifies as a cult film. The term was first used in the 1970s to describe the culture that surrounded underground films and midnight movies. Cult films trace their origin back to the controversial and suppressed films kept alive by dedicated fans. And after failing at the cinema, some cult films have become regular fixtures on cable television or home video. Others have inspired their own festivals. Cult films frequently break cultural taboos, and many feature excessive displays of violence, gore, sexuality, profanity, or combinations, and this can lead to controversy and censorship. No reason not to. Since the late 1970s, cult films have become increasingly popular. And what follows is my synoptical takeaway from studying cult movies and watching many. 3 movie genres: science fiction, horror, and comedy hold most of the cult classics. And here are some examples. For sci-fi, Plan 9 from Outer Space, The Fly, the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, which stars Michael Rennie, Godzilla, and Them, and of course Star Trek and Star Wars. For horror, Night of the Living Dead, which lay dead for a couple of decades until zombie movie cults came to life. The Texas Chainsaw series of movies, the Alien series, American Psycho. And for comedies, we have Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Car Wash, Office Space, Kingpin. Pop rock musicians often like cult comedy, and they let the producers use their music when filming. Some cult movie classics can fit into both horror or sci-fi as well as comedy. And a cult movie classic cannot be deliberately made. If directors try, the viewing public will see through all the silly sci-fi props, exaggerated blood and gore, and too much hyped dialogue and trite humor stunts. Cult classics are the movies that failed at the box office the first time around, but caught the fancy of what becomes a cult following. What about cult movie actors and actresses? Some famous ones started their careers making cult movies and crossed over to mainstream stardom. Here are a couple of examples. Raquel Welch, Sigourney Weaver, Nicolas Cage, Bill Murray, and Sylvester Stallone. And no matter what level of fame they achieved, all have a certain look about them that came through to the viewers. All of them lived bohemian lifestyles while breaking into Hollywood, which is a tough, demanding place. And they put in lots of time to stay physically fit because they had to perform amazing stunts. What do cult movies tell us about our culture and society? Well, they point out controversial topics. Here are some: homosexuality, transgenderism, sex and race discrimination, rape, and child abuse. Over time, the issues pointed out in cult movies might reach a tipping point and spill over into mainstream awareness for society to correct the mistakes of the past. And finally, what do cult films tell us about ourselves, us human beings? They say that we are clever, adaptable, social animals whose basic instincts for survival, food, and sex, plus love for one another, as well as bouts of insanity and cruelty, are rooted deep in our DNA and thus change so slowly. I'll point out one example that goes a long way to proving the point. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of the original Star Trek series, when asked to make a sequel series that became Star Trek: The Next Generation, wanted its setting to be a utopian world in which people didn't have to work because machines made everything they wanted. Wars and violence had been eliminated, and people loved one another. But everyone participating in the next generation's development said audiences don't want a utopia presented in movies because there's no conflict, no villains, no violence, no sex. We, the people, love to watch both the worst and the best humans have to offer. And I will end with a couple of salient comments made by movie critics. Here's a direct quote from one of them. As evidenced by the success of recent series like Wild Wild Country and The Vow, we humans are fascinated by cults. These segmented groups follow specific, usually taboo beliefs, often masterminded by a charismatic figurehead who, more often than not, has nefarious goals of power behind facades of newfangled ideas telling how to live. They thrive on multiplication, recruitment, and punishment of anyone who dares speak against or uncover the truth behind their system. Cults are fascinating corruptions of the basic human need to socialize and find our group of like-minded people. And here are some comments from other critics. Cult movies are the birthplace for creative film production, direction, and acting techniques that can put issues in front of the public in a manner that entertains as well as educates. But our current culture makes it harder for producers to make new cult-like movies. You can also make some money because of current society's ethical and moral and political restrictions. So I'll stop here, and I hope you liked listening to this video, that it gave you enough information to dig deeper into cult movies if you wish. So thank you for listening, and bye-bye until next time.